Welcome into our Flyers Pep Rally, our Flyers live Q&A here at the Comcast Center in downtown Philadelphia, getting ready for hockey season, Flyers season, right around the corner. And we are here with the best crew around, Jordan Hall, Jim Jackson, Al Morganti, and myself, Ashlyn, Sullivan from NBC Sports Philadelphia, getting ready for a very exciting Flyers season, which starts on Friday. The team is already in Vancouver. JJ, I know you're getting ready to go here soon,
Yes.
catch a flight this afternoon. Safe to say expectations very high, rightfully so, Jordan. You've been there every single day, and it's clear why they're high. I mean, the way they ended last season, while it was disappointing, this is a team that the trajectory is definitely going up.
I think so too, Ashlyn. And when you add a guy like Matvei Mishkov, and I've seen him up close now for 2 to 3 weeks, he is the real deal. He looks like a significant free agent addition almost.
Yeah.
And then you tie in what John Tortorella typically does in year 3 with his teams, all in the playoffs when he was in Columbus, New York, and Tampa Bay. You see steady improvement, and so improvement could be playoffs, and then you add Mishkov. I think there's reason to be excited and to be intrigued by this team.
Yeah, there's a lot of excitement really for everything right now. A great time to be a sports fan. We have so many people here at the Comcast Center. Beautiful weather here in Philadelphia. And for those of you watching online, be sure to ask your questions in the comments. We have a reporter here, Ashley Hall, who's going to take your questions here in person, and very happy to answer all your questions online as well. And we know there are a ton of questions about Matvei Mishkov and how he has looked. And JJ, you've been there as well. Like Jordan said, the real deal, which is a lot to say for 3 weeks, but it's pretty clear.
Yeah, I mean, every test he's had, he's passed. Now, the next test he gets is going to be a little different because regular season hockey is different than preseason hockey. The pace picks up, the intensity picks up. So he's going to have to, I think, adjust to that. And then if the Flyers do get to the playoffs down the road, he's going to have to adjust to another level because the playoffs are another level. But what I love about him is his hockey IQ. He is mentally a half step ahead of every player on the ice. Shy of Connor McDavid and Sidney Crosby, some of those kind of players. But he absolutely, they say the puck follows him around. It doesn't really follow him around, of course. He just knows where it's going. He has unbelievable hands, of course. But what I've really noticed about him, which I didn't know, is he has grit. He does not back down when he's confronted. He will go after pucks in the crease, in the blue, and he'll go for the pucks along the wall. So he's not a really a speedster. Lutsenko handles that, of course, but everything else, he checks the box and really should be a great player. But, again, it's going to be interesting to see how he adjusts to the pace of the regular season.
Yeah, which starts on Friday for the Flyers, and I've been really impressed as well just how well he's fit in right away. I mean, you can tell his teammates love him. They love that he's on the ice. And now I think really the most interesting part, we talk about this a lot with John Tortorella, is how are they going to manage expectations, one, but protect this guy. It's clear they don't want to put too much on his plate while he has the talent. You don't want to overload him right away. I think there's going to be constant give and take this entire year.
I think there's going to be a lot of take from the player. I think if they want to parcel things out, I don't think he's going to have any of it. And I wonder if his teammates will, if he's that good. I know everybody wants to pump the brakes a little bit. I don't. I have not seen this kind of anticipation since Lindros to come into a season. I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
I agree.
People want to see him. There's 39 jerseys everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy to me that a guy. I mean, we didn't watch him play. I mean, maybe you saw a couple of clips from overseas, but nothing really. But you come in, people watch the preseason. The players talk about him. I don't want to tamp this down at all. I expect a show.
Yeah.
I expect this kid to be a show. Yeah, there's going to be some rough spots, but Tortorella's pretty good with that. Mm-hmm. People have the wrong idea of torts with young players. He's going to live with some of their mistakes. And I think it's curious that they put him on Couturier's line early to somebody to have his 6. Yeah. I think eventually he'll get wheels with him. Yeah. Not that Coots can, he can move, but not like a Frost or whomever, Lutsenko, who knows. Yeah. But I think they're going to, that shows you that they're going to live with some of his, just go. We haven't had that skill set for so long. Let's not tamper down.
Yeah, you've heard John Tortorella say multiple times so far, just let the kids play, and it seems like that's exactly what they're going to do. As we now check in with Ashley Hall, who's here at the Comcast Center, standing by with a Flyers fan.
Yep, guys, we have our first fan question, and it comes from Drew.
Hey, guys. So my question, who, in your opinion, has the most improved going into this season? Jet in his first 9 games or Matvei coming in straight from the KHL?
Yeah. You want me to grab it? No one's jumping for it. Well, I mean, first of all, we don't know if it's going to be just 9 games for Jet. I'll tell you what, if he plays as well as he did for most of the preseason, John Tortorella is going to want to have him around for more than 9 games. Of course, he's then burned a year of his contract. But if he's that good, he's that mature, he's able to hold up through the 9 games or how many games he plays here early in the season, then they're probably going to feel he's ready. So who cares if we burn another year? And maybe he and Michkov then are kind of together with their contracts, and you see how that goes. But Michkov has a lot to prove, of course. With Al, I think he will prove that he's a great player, and I think Luchenko, I don't think it's a lot of pressure because at this point it's kind of like gravy. I mean, we didn't expect him to even make the team, and here he is on the team, and now if he actually makes the team through 9 games, even a bigger boost. They do have a need at center. So Luchenko, if indeed he does fit the bill, that's huge for this year's team, and if you're not hurting him for the future, and I don't really buy into that too much. You'll find out in the first 3 or 4 games if he can handle the NHL. He's going to be able to handle the pace with his legs, but mentally, and if he is, he's going to be a player on this team. And the Flyers will have 2 teenagers who are obviously huge cornerstones moving to the future. So to answer your question, I don't think either of them have that much pressure. I guess I'd go Michkov because it's been building for years now. Luchenko is more of just an overnight sensation, if you will, from a fan standpoint. So I guess I'd go Michkov if I had to answer the question. But I don't think either of them will shy away from the pressure at all.
So, Jordan, if I told you you have 9 shows to prove yourself, would you feel some pressure?
I would feel a great deal of pressure.
But, Jordan, you always feel pressure.
That's right.
Pressure to succeed.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know what it's – look, you're 18 years old, and you have a chance to spend the entire year in the NHL and be one of the biggest stories in the league at this age, and you're already recognized as the youngest Flyer.
Ever.
I mean – I'm like, and he seems calm about it, but I'm like, man, there's some stuff there. And the coach says he's going to use him on the PK,
yes.
and he's 18 years old and some power play time on a team that was desperate for some power play. I think there's a little bit of pressure there.
I think at this point, though, I talked with him yesterday or 2 days ago, and I don't get the feeling that it's a whirlwind where it's almost like, I didn't expect to be here, so I'm going for it. I guess if he sits back and thinks of it that way, there's pressure. But I think right now he's kind of in this big blur, Jordan, and what it's like to be in a big blur.
That's right. No, I get the sense that he's more nervous around his teammates and the coaches, not so much the pressure of Philadelphia, the media, and the fans. I think he just wants to do the right things around veteran teammates who are probably looking at like, wow, 18-year-old kid, can he do what we do?
Yeah.
So I think he's got a great head on his shoulders. I think there's probably a little more pressure on Luchenko because he needs to show he can stick. Whereas Michkov, I think if he gets off to a slow start, maybe the first 9 games, it's going to be, okay, no worries. He's going to be here all year. Things will eventually pick up.
Yeah, until John Tortorella scratches him. I mean, you're not if he's playing poorly, either of these two, I mean, if Jet gets playing poorly, obviously he's going to go back to junior. But Michkov's here probably.
Yeah.
So if he plays poorly, then
is this the most interesting rookie skate you're ever going to see?
Yeah. What do they do? They have 2 of them.
They follow each
2
other.
teenagers around the ice. Yeah.
I think with Jet Luchenko, though, Jordan, I so agree with you because when you see him on the ice, he looks like he belongs. And we talked to him in the locker room, and I love his honesty when he was talking about that he's still a little starstruck. For example, being right next to Travis Konechny. He says, a guy I've been watching for years, and I casually just get to talk with him and have lunch with him. But I like that. It's like it's not too good for him, and you can tell he's very genuine about wanting to be here. So I think it's a cool thing that he's sharing that with us, that he's walking around like, wow, this is pretty cool, because it is cool. It's a great opportunity.
Yeah, this kid was 17 when he was drafted. He's not even 2 months into his 18th year, his 18th birthday, I should say. So
born in 2006.
It is hard to believe. I mean, you think
Ouch.
you think of Eric Johnson, who's 36.
I think of myself.
Yeah,
old. It's amazing. 2006. That's
so
incredible.
I sure would be nervous if I'm in a locker room and the coaches think highly of you. You just don't want to. You don't want to rub people the wrong way. I think he's going about it very well. There's a quiet maturity to him, which I think is great.
Yeah.
His idol, the player growing up, Mitch Marner.
Wow.
That old KG veteran, Mitch
That's
Marner.
right.
That's that guy.
It is hard to it's hard to really emphasize how young when you're not a top draft pick. Like if you're the 1 or 2, that happens. But this hasn't happened since like Patrice Bergeron. To make it.
It's a good thing to look up. If you look up the latest pick to make the team,
it's got to be.
Yeah, I have to look at it.
Because usually, the first pick, the second overall, whatever.
Right.
But what a home run if this happens.
Yeah, and even if he doesn't make it this year, if he doesn't stick, it's clear. Watching this kid, this is a great draft pick. I mean, super draft pick. So the Flyers have, in essence, now had 2 high picks, even though he wasn't that high. but he clearly should have been in the top 10 given what we're seeing from him. So that's how you rebuild. And obviously going to get another crack next year with several picks. Maybe they move up, whatever. But that's how you rebuild. You have to hit on some of your picks that aren't 1 or 2 or 3 because you're not going to get 1, 2, 3 all the time. And the Flyers haven't had it at all outside of
and you could consider Drysdale in the same situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Put that in the same package.
Yeah, and I think especially as we say that still honestly, and I love the Flyers honestly with this, that this is still a rebuild, that they're still retooling. For sure this has gone quicker than many have expected, but I love when John Tortorella talks about kind of the red flags for this season, and he talks about the goaltending situation, that he just doesn't know where it stands right now. It's very clear he's very confident in Sam Ersson and his abilities and his mental confidence. But, Jordan, I mean, this is the first crack at that we're going to see Sam Ersson as a true starting goaltender, and he's going to have to go and take that job and make it permanent.
Yeah, when you hear John Tortorella say it scares the crap out of him, I think it's valid that there's some people that are probably a little nervous about the goaltending picture. And that's not a knock on Samuel Ersson, but it's his first year, as you alluded to, Ashlyn, his first year being a number 1. And then you have Ivan Fedotov, who I think has made 1 start in the NHL in his career. People don't know exactly who he'll be in the NHL. So it's always goaltending in Philadelphia. I think it's a fair and valid concern if fans have it. But I like Samuel Ersson. I think he's got a great head on his shoulders. And I think he had the whole offseason to mentally prepare to be the number 1. And he looked great in the preseason. I know it's just 2 games, Jim, but that had to ease the concerns, I think, a little bit of John Tortorella and perhaps people in Philadelphia.
You know what eased my concerns, Jordan? The last 3 games of last year. I mean, he had gone through a long, tough stretch himself as well as the team. And then he was able to play 3 really good games to end the year. I mean, where does he find that at the end of the year? He played 31 of the last 36 games. Not many goalies can really stay good being that busy, and the Flyers want to avoid having that kind of stretch this year, which increases the importance of Fedotov. But as far as Sam Ersson, I'm a big Sam Ersson guy. I think he is a legitimate number 1. I think we have to see him play 50 games, 55, and George even threw out 60, but, with some breaks. You can't go 31 out of 36.
They got back-to-backs right away.
Yeah, there's going to be back-to-backs. But, I mean, I think they can – it's very important for Fedotov to show he can get in there and take the ball and make 30 to 35 starts, I guess. But or if it's not him, call us off or whoever. But they have to have somebody to give Sam a rest. He can't play as much as he did last year. I think if that happens, he will show that he's a goaltender. His numbers last year ended up with an .890 save percentage. He did not play goal for most of the year with an .890 save percentage. He played much higher than that. So I'm confident he can do it. But no doubt, as Jordan points out, it's a legitimate question. Torts has pointed it out. Everybody's pointing it out. But that doesn't mean it has to go the wrong way. I think it can go the right way.
Yeah, I guess the dream, Ashlyn, would be when it comes time for the 4 Nations tournament that he's mentioned with Markstrom or whomever as a possible Swedish goaltender in that tournament. That's the dream, that he's that good.
Yeah.
That he's mentioned but doesn't go because we want him to rest.
That's the perfect situation.
Yes.
All right, I believe we have a virtual question standing by. Ashley, are you going to read those for us?
Yeah, guys, so our first virtual question comes from Hunter Gonzo, and he wants to know, how worried should fans be about the thin defense?
Go ahead, Al.
Hunter Gonzo?
Yes. Don't ask
That
questions.
sounds like a defense.
I'm not that worried about it. I think
saw his concern.
That's a good way to go through life these days. Don't ask questions.
I think the addition of Ristolainen, who I look at as an addition, I think that really helps things. I think people dismiss how much better he was last year when he was healthy. I think that's a huge thing. And watching Drysdale motor about now is really impressive, that he can play like that. I think there's some – I'm not that worried about the defense as I have been previously, especially since Ristolainen is healthy now. And that sounds crazy because everybody was down on him a year ago. But I remember the way he came and played within a system. And now with Drysdale able to play the way he can, move the puck. And Samula, actually, last year we saw it. He get the puck through on power plays, use both sides of the ice. I think that's going to help. And that, in essence, that will help the goaltending too.
Yeah, I don't know. It's thin. I mean, I look around the league and I look at the third pair, and most teams it's a journeyman or a youngster. I mean, not many teams have 6 great defensemen. And you're talking about Risto, who's played really well in camp. He could be a great guy along with Zamula on that third pair. Nick Seeler being healthy obviously is important. But to me, it's about Cam York taking even another step I think another step for him would be all-star consideration because I think he was that good last year. And Travis Sanheim being as good as he was for most of last year. If those two play as a top pair that well, and then Jamie adds in and the power play, and then I like that third pair. And then you've got guys like Andre, McDonald, some guys who could come up. So I'm not sure it's that thin, Jordan. I think that maybe some unproven players, but that doesn't mean they can't come through.
I agree, and Ashlyn, to me, the Nick Seeler-Jimmy Drysdale pair, I think, could be make or break for them.
Yeah.
Last year, Nick Seeler and Sean Walker, that was a pair that came out of nowhere and just provided so much stability, and it took pressure off of Cam York and Travis Sanheim, and I think it made those two better. If Drysdale can come in and be the Sean Walker for Nick Seeler, I think the Flyers could be really good. But if they don't mesh right away, or if they battle some health concerns, suddenly they look thinner, I think, on defense.
Yeah, and I thought it was really encouraging. We got the chance to talk with Nick Seeler at Media Day, and he was talking about the comparisons of Drysdale and Sean Walker, and he said really they complement each other really well, that he notices Jamie Drysdale getting up to the level of a Sean Walker, and that's what I think I'm most excited about. Is I never felt like Jamie Drysdale even got a chance last year. We know now after a lot of honesty that he was dealing with these injuries as he was coming over, needed off-season surgery, and you can just tell a difference in him, the guys say on the ice, the confidence in him, that this is really our first chance to see him out fully healthy.
Yeah, we noticed he could fly even when he was at 60% or whatever he was last year. And you can tell, Ashlyn, young defensemen, when they have that ability, their skates are outside the zone, it gives them a better angle coming in, their confidence to do that. And he's had that all along. So I have no worries about. My only worry about him was the injury bug that he seemed to follow him throughout. Other than that, I mean, I think they've got themselves a real potentially guy that can really unlock that power play too.
Hockey season's here. The leaves are falling.
Yeah, that's right.
The leaves fall the leaves fall in June or May or whatever it is.
Very good point. Not under Chief though.
No.
This man knows everything. All right, Ash, we got another virtual question standing by.
Flying in Fast and Furious, how do you feel with Coots being the only top 9 forward power play package? Do you feel it's short-term so Jet can get a look on the power play, or is this more to limit his minutes? That one comes from Tyler Wartz.
So was the question about the
I
power
think
play
it's
unit or
how do
the
you feel
penalty
about
kill?
Coots being the only top 6 forward not on the power play? I think that was the question.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah.
I don't find that. I mean, I'm kind of excited to see what the new power play. It's a strange power play. At least what we saw at practice was an odd power play unit. I think they had to kind of start from scratch, basically, on what's gone on. To me, their power play was they didn't have a skill set. If you're going to have a successful power play, either you get in front of the net, whatever, or you move the puck across the middle of the ice. I think you now have guys that can move the puck across the middle of the ice.
Yeah, two.
Yeah.
In particular, they didn't have last year, at least Drysdale at full strength and Michkov at all. I think Bobby Brink could be a interesting piece on the power play, whether it's first or second unit, because he has all the skills to be another one of those guys. I think Coots not being there, I think Torts might see Coots as more of a checking center at this point in his career. I think there might still be a little offense to his game. And the other thing is, we're sitting here, in October saying this. By the time we roll into December, Coots has probably seen some power play time. I mean, things move around. Although, having said that, Rocky Thompson was pretty explicit in saying he thought they did too much juggling with personnel in the power play last year, and they need to stick to certain personnel sets and give them a chance through 3 or 4 games at least to see if they can get it together. I mean, there was a lot of turmoil last year.
And I think it can't hurt to monitor Sean Couture's minutes a little bit. Last year, if you look at his first 50 games, he was excellent, but he played almost 20 minutes a night, and then suddenly he took a dip. So I think it can't hurt to monitor those minutes a little bit, take a little bit off of his shoulders. And Jim, like you said, if they don't see the chemistry there on the power play, if Jet Lichenko isn't doing what they want, they can put Couturier back on the power play and give him the minutes.
Right, and you see both sides with this power play, because it was something we talked about every single night, that you could see why the Flyers were forced to juggle just to try to find something that works. But I know they were very honest in this offseason. They would have meetings about this, bringing outside opinions, and it seems like they finally have found something that at least makes sense. But Danny Briere on Monday, when we spoke to him, said if we would have just gotten middle tier power play, you're making the playoffs. So it's not like it's unrealistic to think that all of a sudden this power play is going to be some of the best in the NHL. But if they can just get a little bit better, you got to imagine what this team could be.
Yeah.
Well, actually, what it turns into is if you power play works as it should, at least at a normal percentage, it helps it's like your goaltending is better. It adds the goal that you can give up at times. And that, I mean, it was ridiculous how low a percentage they were, and I think it got in their heads. And now I think they started from scratch, as we said, but I really do think it was in. You can say don't think about it, but you had to be thinking about it every time you got a power play. Literally, like, oh no,
doubt.
Here we go. It was, and if you're, and especially at home. When Lou Nolan, I mean, I thought he was going to get sued for being so excited about the Flyers going on the power play. I'm like, it's like, but that should be, everybody should be excited. And maybe with these.
You mean you'd say that?
Yeah, well, I'm like, oh my God, yeah, right.
It was getting to that point.
No, Lou should have got an Oscar. I mean,
maybe he was recorded.
Really, but I mean, but if that works, it does crank up your building, and I think the players on the ice get cranked up. And I'm also, I don't want to sound like it could. The fact that Michkov can actually engineer stuff from behind the net,
and he loves to.
It is remarkable. I swear I don't think it's going to happen right away, or even Torts would let it. But man, I watched him in the preseason. Like you said, JJ, it's different with other personnel coming across. But man, that guy looks like he can generate from behind the net.
He looks very comfortable there. He looks like he can use the net to help him. I'm sure there's going to be a lacrosse try here or there. But more than that, it's his ability to set up other players from back there. I think it becomes part of their power play with him there for sure. And I don't want to forget Morgan Frost. I think Morgan Frost can play off of talent like Michkov on the power play and Drysdale. And hey, let's give these guys a chance. This is a completely different unit than last year with Michkov here, Drysdale healthy. So let's see what it looks like. I know 3 straight years at the bottom, but these are different players. So let's see how they do.
And Michkov, I think, could give them different looks on the power play because he's so good in different spots. And when you're a power play and you're predictable, that's where I think you run into troubles. If you have the ability to give the opposing PK different looks like Michkov will, I think that should help.
Yeah. Just a slight improvement, hopefully, this season as we now go back to Ashley and with another virtual fan question.
Yep, guys, so going off of what you were just talking about, loaded question here. Justin wants to know, can Michkov lead the Flyers to a Stanley Cup championship this year?
This year? Oh.
That's all Jordan.
That's quite expectations.
Jordan's a very optimistic guy. So.
I do.
Cup or bust, Jordan?
Cup or bust season for the Flyers. You heard it here first. I don't know if Michkov's going to make them a cup contender overnight. Just 19 years old, coming from Russia, still learning the ways here in America. But I think he absolutely makes them a better team. He makes them more exciting, more intriguing. But I'm not sure they're going to be vying for the Stanley Cup. But I think it's realistic to be looking at playoffs and thinking potentially they can make things very interesting and try to get into the playoffs for the first time since 2019, 2020.
Yeah, I can't say anything's ever impossible after watching the Vegas go to a Stanley Cup final.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, who knows what happens? But I wouldn't. You look at the odds coming in, Ashlyn, and they're not good.
Yeah.
It's like they're. Yeah, it looks. It's not as grim as it looks on the statistics, the numbers, the chances to win.
Right.
I think they're better. I don't even know that's in, except for our questioner here. Is that a word?
Questioner.
The person the person that asked the question.
Questioner?
Yeah. Well,
Gonzo.
English and math was my 2 worst subjects. Yeah.
Good thing he's a broadcaster.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
made for it.
I don't know that many people are actually looking at this as a season where it's Stanley Cup at busted. I think they want to be excited. Mm-hmm. They want to go into a game thinking, I'm going to go down to the Wells Fargo and we're going to see at least 2 goals, 3 goals. Yeah. Or we're going to see it's going to take a lot of great saves to stop this offense. That's what I think is the success this year.
Yeah, I think they can make the playoffs. I mean, in the NHL, once you make the playoffs, as the Florida Panthers proved 2 years ago, anything can happen. They went all the way to the finals. They barely made the playoffs. Now they're that is a dynasty in the making.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't think that certainly they're looking at the Stanley Cup this year. I'm not going to say it can't happen because in this world, anything can happen. And I tell broadcast students all the time, anything can happen. Go for your dream. So, yeah, shoot for it, but don't expect it. That's for sure. But I think, as Jordan said, making the playoffs is a legitimate goal. I think even the organization's kind of quelling that a bit.
Yeah.
Keith Jones driving that.
No, that's when you said you teach students.
That's not a good thing. But I thought it was Jonesy myself saying, shut up, Jim. But as he so often does. But, no, I think that, don't say it can't happen, but shooting for the playoffs is a legitimate goal.
Right, and you've seen, Jordan, especially I think the past couple of months where I think at the end of last season, Danny Briere, John Tortorella were saying, just because we made it this close, don't have the expectations that the Flyers are going to make the playoffs now every single season, especially when we look at the division. We believe the Devils are going to be much better. I mean, that last spot last season, you couldn't give it to anyone. No one went and took it. You can't expect that to happen again, so I understand hampering the expectations, but that is the next step for the Flyers is getting in.
Absolutely, and if you look, if they had some things go their way last year, they get in.
Yeah.
If they don't break up their defense with the Sean Walker trade, they probably make the playoffs. If their goaltending situation doesn't get thrown out of whack in January, they probably make the playoffs. If they don't lose 8 straight in crunch time, they make the playoffs. So I think it's a reasonable goal, and I think the Flyers are smart, the people upstairs, to not say, yes, playoffs are the expectations. They're buying themselves some more time. They give themselves some more leash, and they're reminding people that they're not losing sight of the future, of the big picture, and that's the rebuild.
And they've been very consistent in that. It is about being consistently good down the road, where every year when we get together for this, we're saying they are a legitimate Stanley Cup contender. And every year, it used to be like that.
Yeah.
Jordan's too young. Ashlyn's too young to remember that. But it used to be like that, I promise you, where the Flyers were expected to contend for the Stanley Cup pretty much every season. But with that in mind, they want to be competitive now, and they are.
Well, I think that's why the Luchenko thing is so interesting when they've made such a point of the future. It's like, and I look at this and go, man, this is telling me something. If this kid makes the team, how special it could be. Maybe there's something to having 2 kids come up at the same time. Have you noticed since Luchenko made the team, a lot of the questions about Michkov are less?
Yes.
It's kind of, especially when you go out west in Vancouver and maybe some of the reporters go there, and it kind of takes it, at least at the beginning of the year. I mean, but the Briere regime is to me, it's under promise and over deliver seems to always be the message from them. So I'm expecting that again this year.
Yeah, big expectations for sure as we go back out to Ashley, who's standing by with a fan.
Yeah, guys, funny enough, too, both virtual and in person had the same question. So I'm going to toss it over to my buddy Mike here.
Hey, guys, how's it going? So do we think that Luchenko is going to get past the 9-game tryout?
I mean, it really is going to be how he plays, obviously. Do I think that he's good enough to play at the NHL level? I do, because physically he's more mature than an 18 and 2-month-old person. And mentally he seems, from a hockey IQ standpoint, he's off the charts. So I think he can. I will temper that only by saying what we see in the preseason, as I said with Michkov, is so different than what we're going to see in the regular season. So I want to see a game or two before I completely commit to it. But I can tell you from the first second I saw Jet Luchenko, and that goes back to development camp, I said, wow, this kid not only can fly, but he knows where to go on the ice, just like Michkov. He's got that IQ. And I saw him make some tight plays in traffic in the scrimmage at the development camp and say, okay, well, it's a development camp, no big. Then I saw him do it at rookie camp. Okay, it's rookie camp, no big deal. Then I saw him do it in a preseason game. So then you start saying, okay, let's give him a shot. I think that's really where the Flyers are at with this. Let's see how he can do it. Is there any harm if he is a little overwhelmed? Not really. He goes back to Guelph, and I think dominates, probably a key member of the World Junior team for Canada, and I think he still has a very good year. So why not? He certainly has, as Torch said, played well enough to deserve a shot. Now we see. And if it doesn't work out, I don't think there's really any harm in it. I really don't. Maybe for a couple weeks when he goes back down to Guelph, he might feel a little down. He's been riding the planes and living the life of an NHL player. But from an on-ice standpoint, I think he's mature enough, he'll adjust. Hopefully it doesn't get to that point. Hopefully he stays.
Power play time, PK time. I mean, if you succeed in that, my worry about him would be the second half of the year if he makes it. That would be what happens, Jordan. That often happens with kids. That's a long year, which is why when I hear Tortorella speak so highly of him, and like he offered the fact, like, oh no, penalty kill, power. Oh, yeah. I'm like, wow, this is a coach that really is going to give him a lot of room out there.
Yeah, they're going to look at him in all situations, and I was surprised by that too, Al, when I heard that he'd be playing PK as well. I think they're going to go eye test too with him. John Tortorella loves the eye test. I think if this kid looks a little overwhelmed and like it's too much, then they'll make the decision that's right for him. But they're going to give him a look. And Al, I want to ask you, how much do you think Tortorella pushed for this kid to make it? It seemed like he really, really fell in love with him.
I think so. I mean, John Tortorella doesn't know hide behind anything
No.
or mince
Doesn't
anything.
hold punches. No.
Oh no, it was like he basically said I can't not have him come here because as a coach I simply say I'm going to judge by what's in front of me, and what's in front of me is he's on the team. And then the general manager Danny says a lot of the veterans I don't think had a great preseason, which I was like how do you even know the way that the thing's set up? One team's overseas.
Yeah.
But to me, I wonder if it isn't like this kid's going to push them too. If the general manager doesn't think, because I knew coming into this year, despite the fact that Tortorella runs a tough camp or whatever, that he was worried about. Oh, we did a lot last year. It's not going to automatically happen, and this automatically puts some pressure on those in front of him.
That's a good point. He seems really honed in on this third-year thing, how players tend to get comfortable. Well, you've got an 18-year-old trying to take, if you're Scott Lawton or if you're some of these guys, taking some of your ice time.
Yes.
That's a way I didn't look at it, but that obviously could play into it. But, of course, Jet has to perform in order for it to mean anything.
For sure. Interesting situation as we go back out to Ashley, standing by with another fan.
Yeah, guys, Chris wants to know who could get called up from the Phantoms if there's injuries or if things just don't quite start out as they expect.
Wow.
Got some options.
Yeah.
Sure, and you seem to know when you go to I mean, I looked at the defenseman. I'm like, Andre, I guess on defense is where you could bring somebody up because they had that kind of like a taste of the NHL previously. And when you do go down, they saw it with York. When you have what it's been like here, I think it kind of pushes you to get back here. So I guess on defense you could bring somebody.
Yeah, Emil Andre is the one that I think is worth watching down there. I think they're still super high on him. Smaller defenseman that just plays the right way, looked real calm and composed in the preseason. I think he really earned the number 8 spot on defense, where if they have injuries and you tend to see them on defense, Emil Andre will get a look, and I think he's earned it. If they're all about culture and earning things, Emil Andre is a guy for me.
And it really depends on who goes down.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's Risto, you're probably talking Ginning or McDonald, somebody of that ilk. If it's more of a puck mover, it would be Andre, who certainly would deserve it. And then from a forward standpoint, there's some guys who really want to get a chance and probably did enough. I mean, I thought Lixell had a pretty good camp. Richard showed some things. Tuamala, if he's healthy. So they have some players who I think the coach always wants to have a couple of those guys who, hey, to tell the guys on the team now, we have some guys ready if you guys don't perform. And I think they have that.
Gives you depth.
Yeah.
Organizational depth is what you're looking for. And I think Lappy's done a good job down there of bringing guys along and the work ethic that they have when they come in to succeed when they get to the NHL.
Right. And you talk about earning it. I've been really encouraged with this Flyers team of rewarding the guys who have earned it. And I think on either scale, you have the Travis Konechny extension and you have the Nick Seeler extension. Guys that really wanted to be here. Konechny was so honest, JJ, that he wanted to be here with the Flyers. He's here a long time now. But you look at these contracts and it gives players the hope that, okay, if I work for this, I'm going to get rewarded here.
Yeah, there's always that fine line management has to walk of not falling in love with their own players too much.
Yeah.
But some, in guarding against that, don't recognize what they have. And I think the Flyers, I remember talking with Jonesy and Danny about TK last year, and the number then was like 10.
Yeah.
You're hearing out there, and I'm saying, well, that's got to be too much, right? And they're saying there aren't many like him. You don't get too many. It's not just the skill; it's the grit. They get under the skin of the opponent. It's the leadership. All these things that he has. He really brings so much to a team, and they see that, and they saw with Nick Seeler that despite the fact that he was out of hockey and working in a painting company not so long ago, that he really is a legitimately good NHL defenseman and brings so much to the team, not just on the ice again. Ashley, they see and they understand the goodness, but I don't think they overdo it. I think they also see the faults in their players and know when they have to cut ties. I mean, they loved Sean Walker, but they realized they had a first-round pick in a really good draft. They had to go after that, or they turned it into a really good draft. And so, I think they have a good balance there in knowing, yeah, we've got something, let's keep it. We might need to move on from this guy. So, and that's good because management, sometimes that's a tough thing to walk.
Yeah, and I think the fact that you mentioned Briere and Jones, they both played in the league, and I think that room, the culture, whatever you want to call it, chemistry, matters a lot. Yeah, well, it matters a lot more. It's how the Bruins under Neely, the couple of guys that were in the league that ran it, managed to stay there year after year. And I think that's what they wanted to build here, which is why it's not just hollow words when Torts talks about the kind of player that we want. And Konechny, I think, is that kind of a guy. You really want to be here. Sanheim, too, really want to be here and be part of it.
And I think he fits their timeline, too. I think he convinced them of that over the last couple of years. One, the team got better, which I think really helped his cause of staying in Philadelphia. And then Konechny answered the bell. Yeah, back-to-back career years. I think he's a guy, when he stays healthy, has 40-goal upside, and really he personifies how I think the Flyers want their guys to play. I could just tell the maturity in him. Like, he's a night-in, night-out guy now. He's not that up-and-down kid anymore. Yeah. He wants to be there every night. Failure bothers him, and I think that's really good. I think it sends a message to everyone in the locker room.
Yeah, he's definitely a great model. As we go back out to Ashley, standing by with another fan question.
Thank you, Ashlyn. We have 2 fan questions left. This one is Billy wants to know, do you think York can transition to an elite defenseman?
Okay. No, you take it first.
I'm adamant about this. I think he's a number 1 defenseman.
I'm with you. I thought we were going to have to battle.
Look,
Jordan.
I saw what I saw last year. He's a lot. He came back in bigger physically this year,
he's over 200 pounds
which I wonder about. It's usually good, but I thought he was strong enough anyway. I thought he made huge strides last year. I also think he's a leader that's undervalued as a leader when you talk to him. His sense of the game. I think the fact that he and Drysdale kind of a pair. You got your Travi and now you got your Skater boys. So you got those guys here, and I think that's good. He doesn't seem to get bothered by much, but I think he cares a lot more than sometimes he lets on with his
California cool.
Yeah, we call him the vibe guy, but
Vibes are high.
Vibes are high. That's right.
But he really is a really good hockey player.
He is.
I think he'd be a number 1 guy.
I think. Sometimes when people think elite defenseman, they think Cale Makar 70, 80, 90 points. I don't know if he'll ever be that. He has to have power play time if he's ever going to be that. But I can still see a guy who's getting 40 to 50 points who is also a guy you want out there when you're up a goal, shutting the other team down. I think that's where he's really impressed John Tortorella and the entire Flyers organization, is not his offensive ability, which he was known for. It's the fact that he's actually a very good and elite shutdown defenseman. So I think it depends on what you're looking for to answer the question. In an elite defenseman, if you're looking for that guy who's going to lead the league in points among defensemen, maybe not. But if you're looking for the guy you want out there, if you're down a goal or up a goal, he's your guy.
Yeah, with Cam York, I think John Tortorella multiple times last year kept saying, why do you talk about points with him? And he asked us about his draft year, and we're like, well, yeah, he did put up points in his draft year at the U.S. program. The exciting thing, I think, is he's just so sound defensively at his age already, and there's offensive upside. I think there's absolutely potential there for him to score a lot more and be more active offensively and play in all situations. So I think there's reason to be excited about Cam York and really the top pair with Travis Sanheim as well.
Yeah, and how are you going to generate points if the forwards aren't guys that had that skill set that supposedly we're looking for? Michkov now, Lutsenko, maybe, whomever. Yeah. But I think if you're looking at pure points as a defenseman, look, unless you're McCarr, you got to have guys finish.
Yeah, this is point really. Everyone talks about the Flyers lacking high-end talent. Really what they lack is a power play.
Yeah.
Those point totals and goal totals would be up for everybody if their power play was even mediocre. So if they can get that straightened out, and Michkov and Drysdale, I think they're going to have an effect, then I think you're going to see all of a sudden people from the outside say, hey, they have more talent than I thought, when in reality the talent's already here.
Yes, it's been in the building. As we go back out to Ashley with one more fan question.
Yeah, guys, the last one. Everyone's asking. Everyone wants to know. So here it is. And Jordan Hall, I hear you have a good one. Playoff predictions. Are we making it? Are we not making it? And what's happening once we get there?
Jordan, it's all yours.
I will start. So I fought this over the last 2 or 3 weeks. Earlier in the offseason, I was not on board yet. I just thought there was too many unknowns defensively in a net. But a couple things changed my mind. I am saying they will make the playoffs as a wild card team. One, Matvei Michkov, a lot better than I thought. I knew he was talented. I knew he was good, but I saw him with my own eyes. He really looks like a significant free agent addition to me. He's already on their first line. And then 2, John Tortorella's track record in year 3. Teams typically see improvement under Tortorella. They've been playoff teams in year 3, and they made it all the way to Game 82 as a team that was in a playoff race. I think the next step will be playoffs. So, yes, I do think they will be a playoff team.
All right, well, I say this. kind of a hedge, I guess. But
Here we go.
if the power play is at least 20th.
It's going to be 20th?
20. Well, 20th is still the bottom half
Ashlyn's
of the
not ready
league.
for that jump.
That's a big jump.
That's still the bottom half of the
I
league.
know it. That's a big jump.
All right. Okay.
32 to 20.
At least 22nd. I don't want to make Ashlyn
10
mad.
spots.
20. It improves to mediocrity. How's that?
Better.
If they at least get it to that, and their goaltending is 900 or better save percentage, I think they make the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm leaning to the playoffs because the Lutsenko thing tells me that they're ahead of their schedule in their own
At least
minds.
in Torch's eyes.
Yeah, and he'll push them to it. So I also think Pittsburgh, Washington. You have to look at what's gone around. Jersey should be a lot better.
Yeah.
But what I saw at Buffalo overseas was wow. It was rough, literally, to see what's going on there. So I think that combination is why I'd lean toward making the playoffs. I'm assuming the goaltending's more than adequate, and I'm assuming that Lutsenko is a part of this going in. And the fact that I was stunned that he was. I mean, I thought, okay, it looks good to me, but what do I,
Right.
in terms of not in management? I mean, am I going to take that risk? But the fact that they're even willing to go to the edge with it leads me to believe that they're very confident in this team.
Especially when they've said it and they're saying it all along about we're looking at the future.
Yeah.
It shows you how impressed they are by him.
Right, and I think as we gear up for the start of this season, Jordan, it's not ideal that the Flyers are starting this way on the road with Flyers after dark, late puck drops.
Yes.
But it's tough. It's a tough way to start the season, and you would hope that the momentum carries for the Flyers home opener. I know everyone's very excited to see Michkov in person, and you wish that was to start the season. This is a tough way to start the year, that's for sure.
Yeah, maybe a road trip, Ashlyn, could be good for them. Get away from the city and from the hype and all the things that are going on here and bond a little bit on the road. They do have younger guys. I think they can help bring them along a little bit, take a little pressure off me with the 10 o'clock puck drops, Ashlyn. I think that can't hurt. But we also didn't get your prediction.
7 o'clock for us.
Yes, that's right. But we didn't get Ashlyn's prediction yet either.
Oh, I got a big prediction.
Wow.
Okay.
I think they make it. And my biggest concern of them not making it isn't Sam Ersson. I think he has shown that he has the mental capacity to be the starting goaltender. I worry more about Ivan Fedotov and can he handle the load management of taking off Sam Ersson. But like we talked about this entire show, if one little thing changes last season, they're in. And look at the roller coaster of last season and how they managed it. And still it came down to the last game against the Capitals. So I just think they've made improvements. I like your prediction of a wild card team. I don't think it's going to be solidified like we know in April. But I think it's going to come down again to the last week. But you have to expect this Flyers team with all the improvements they made to make that next step. I don't think that's crazy to say.
And the road trip to start the season, most coaches like it. It's a good way to get everybody together. Focus them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Vancouver, Calgary. I mean, Calgary, Seattle. Edmonton's going to be a tough game, but I mean, I think they're 3 winnable games. Vancouver's formidable, but it's not their opener.
Yeah.
It's their second game. I mean, I think getting on the road is good to get everybody together. Jordan mentioned it, young team, young players, get them all indoctrinated into it. Maybe a little shorter road trip would have been better, but still, as it is, they're making it even longer by going out there early to do some bonding so they don't seem afraid of the length of it at all.
To me, it's nasty to do to the Flyers to go out. No, and to come home and have one day before.
Yeah,
you're
that
done.
I agree with.
I mean,
that
that's
one I don't like.
Wow.
Yeah.
On the other hand, fast starts haven't necessarily turned into playoff seasons here in the last couple of years. So I'm not even sure. Like, I'm not ready to. Oh wow, what a bad, like 500 or whatever. I'm not even sure that when you're looking at the start in terms of one loss, but how Mishkov's playing, what the kid looks like, all of that. But if I owned the team, Comcast, I would have been banging on that door at the NHL saying, "What are you doing here? We're out west. We go west, then we go to Alberta, then we go back, then we have one day and we come back." I'm like, my God.
Yeah, that is you're 2 or 3 time zones away for 10 days basically, and you get. We're traveling back actually on the Friday, and then playing Saturday. That is a little tough.
It's tough, but
But hopefully the crowd will be so
pumped
the
up.
adrenaline will take them through that.
And
first.
Torts won't let you use an excuse.
No,
He will not.
never.
He will not.
Yeah, every time I try to make sense of the NHL schedules, I see something that doesn't make sense. So the way they did it, it is what it is. I think John Tortorella will make the best of it. And maybe the Flyers playing in front of some big crowds on the road could help a couple of their kids get used to that and be ready for the home opener.
Yeah, that's the hope. Big expectations for the Flyers this season, and safe to say everyone is excited to get started. Thanks so much for tuning into this Flyers Live Q&A, the Flyers Pep Rally here at the Comcast Center. Stay tuned on Friday for Flyers pre- and post-game live and watch JJ on the game broadcast. They open up on the road. But thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.